Today we are making worry worms. So I saw this pattern for the first time on Pinterest a few weeks ago. I can't believe I've never seen this before. I was just like, oh my gosh, that is the most glorious thing I've ever seen. They are so cute, they are so funny, and I need to make a whole army of them. The original pattern was by the amazing Hooked by Robin. They were the person that made the famous bee pattern. The pattern for the worms is very simple and very straightforward. So what I thought I could do is with each worm, I'll make a slight variation of the pattern, and then we'll see all the different impacts that my different variations have on the final product. So for supplies, my beautiful worm bag is providing me with this amazing pack of yarn from Spotlight. How perfect is this? It's all these different colors of different ombre, so it's going to look amazing for like the curly worm. So we're going to make one worm in each of these different colors, and it's going to be a whole army, and I am so excited, and we need to get started. So for worm number one, I'm going to be using this pink yarn. Now the label recommends that you use 4mm crochet hook. I, however, have worked with this yarn before, and I found that a 4mm crochet hook was really tight. So I'm going to be working with a 3.75mm crochet hook today, and hopefully that will work a bit better. Now our first worm is just going to be our standard worm, following the pattern exactly as written. So starting by chaining 30 stitches, and then once I have my chain of 30 stitches, I'm going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch, and then what the pattern requires us to do is do 4 single crochets into each stitch along the rest of the chain until you get to the very last one. And as we do this, because there are so many stitches in less stitches, it just curls around and around and around, and it looks really cool. You can see the worm coming to life, and then once we've done that a good 27 times, we reach the final stitch, into which we need to make the worm's face. So in this stitch, we do double crochets, and we're going to do 10 of them into the same stitch. And what that does is that creates a face for the worm where we can stick some eyes. So I bought these eyes especially for this worm project. Wow, not even a good quality box. These tiny ones look very funny. I can't decide which one I like. The tiny ones are giving those worm on a string vibes, which honestly is great vibes, but I'm just feeling the bigger ones today, so I'm gonna go with that. And I'm just gonna be using fabric glue to stick these on. Normally I would reach for my hot glue in situations like this, but I don't know where my hot glue gun is. I think fabric glue will work fine. There's a little bit seeping over the edge, but it will dry clear, so it's all good. So with that, that is our base worm. That is the worm we can compare all our other worms to when we change up the pattern, and I think he looks like a very snazzy fellow already. Worm number 2 is going to be using my favorite of these yarns, is the purple one. So this time, instead of doing a chain of 30, I'm going to do a chain of 40. Then we're just going to follow the pattern as written for the rest of it. So I do my slip stitch, I do 4 single crochets into each stitch. On the free seam, I'm going to do the 10 double crochets into the last stitch to make the face, add on some eyes. Oh, look at that, that's a glorious worm. They look so cute together, and yeah, so much longer. I thought it would be like a couple spirals longer. Look, it is maybe like 4 spirals longer, but still. Also, I just love how the purple ombre looks. Like, I don't know how I managed to get it going from light to dark the whole way down the worm, but it looks fabulous. Okay, next worm. Worm number 3 is going to be worked in this blue yarn, and we're going to do kind of the opposite of what we just did. So I'm going to reduce the amount of chains. I'm going to do 20 chains instead of 30 chains, and we'll end up with a little baby worm. This is coming together so quickly. We'll do the face. And what I'm going to do for this one, before I stick on the eyes, is I'm actually going to sew that little hole shut. There's no problem with it being there. The first 2 worms kind of look like they have a shocked expression on their face, but I think I'm just going to close it up for the rest of them just cause I want to. Now we shall stick on the eyes, and look, we have a little baby worm. Okay, so comparing our 3 worms. When you put the blue worm on this side of the purple one, it looks a lot smaller than the pink one, but right next to it, you can see it's really not that much smaller. I feel like the difference between the pink worm and the blue worm is a lot smaller than the difference between the pink worm and the purple worm, but if we count up their spirals, there's like 3 spirals different between them. That really doesn't make any sense. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. My eyes just can't judge size clearly. Moving on to worm number 4, this aqua colored worm. Now, what am I going to do differently for aqua worm? I'm going to go back to my standard base of 30 chains, and I'm going to do the slip stitch that you do for the first stitch, but then we're going to do 5 single crochets into each stitch. Instead of 4 single crochets, we're adding one. I expect this worm will be even curlier than the others. This one is looking like it wants to be quite crazy. I have to keep fixing it up as I go along. And then just like the rest of them, I've reached the final stitch. I'm going to do 10 double crochets to make that worm head, and then cut it off, weave in my ends, and sew sew up that little hole like I did for the last one, grab my fabric glue, stick on the eyes, and boom, 5 single crochet into each stitch, worm is complete. I definitely thought it would have a much bigger impact. I thought that it would be much curlier. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do the next one with more single crochets in each stitch. Now I could just go up to 6 single crochets, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go up to 7 single crochets because the difference between 4 single crochets and 5 single crochets, it's just really not that big. So I'm hoping that when we do 7 single crochets, it'll have a bigger impact and we'll be able to see quite a different worm. I'm sticking with the standard chain length of 30 stitches, slip stitching into the first stitch, and then we are going to do 7 single crochets into each stitch. I'm worried this isn't gonna work. I'm worried that I'm gonna break the pattern and it's not gonna curl, or it's just gonna be a big blobby mess. Is this gonna be too many stitches? It's already looking a bit questionable. I'm feeling quite worried at this point. Okay, it's starting to curl. It's starting to give me like lettuce vibes. Okay, maybe it is working. The worm seems to be forming the curls as it is. I've had to like maneuver them around a bit, but it does seem to be working. And I don't know if it's just the first few stitches, but it's giving like this oval shape. It's like a very distinct oval. As I'm moving down the chain, I am noticing it's getting harder and harder to get my hook into the next chain. There are just so many stitches, it's making it so tight. I might have to cheat a little bit and skip a few stitches just because there is no way I can get into that. I think I only skipped 2 stitches the whole thing, and we've reached the end. Gonna make the face, tie it off, sew up that hole, add some eyes, and hello, glorious creature. Why does it look so cool? Look at that shape. I don't understand how this is happening, but I love it. Okay, I'm so excited by that one. I'm gonna keep going on this trend, and I'm going to increase the single crochets in each stitch again. I'm not going to do 8 because I don't think there'll be that big a difference from 7, and I'm not going to do 10 because I'm worried I will break the pattern and there'll be too many stitches. So I'm going to do 9 stitches into each stitch. Now as I'm doing this chain, I'm trying to on purpose make it quite loose because remember we had that problem where it was hard to get into each stitch. So I'm hoping this will help us out a bit later on. So even though I did the stitches as loose as I did, I'm still running into the same problem, and there's just no way I can get my hook into that stitch, so we're gonna have to start skipping stitches again. Okay, the curls are looking extra crazy. I think they need a bit of rearranging. I think if I twist all these around a bit, I can make him look a bit more worm-like. So we can definitely see quite a big difference between these two worms. This one is longer. These stitches are like completely flat on the front, but these ones, oh my god, why is there an extra eye? These ones have this like curve in the middle. Like it's still kind of like that oval shape, but it's got a wave in it. And this one is actually longer than our original long worm. It's longer than the purple one. If you looked at this, you'd think, yeah, that's the yarn you used for that worm. No, that's a different yarn. This one doesn't have any of that orange colour in it, but it does look very similar. And for this worm, we're going to go backwards. So I'm going to do only 3 single crochets in each stitch. I don't think it'll be a huge difference from the pink worm, but if I only did 2 single crochets in each stitch, I don't think it would work at all. So we'll stick with 3 and see what happens. I'm guessing the worm will be slightly thinner, slightly shorter, and maybe a little bit less curly. This is coming together very, very quickly compared to the last few I've done. Why isn't my glue working? Oh no! Okay, we had a bit of a flood of glue. There's a bit too much glue, but it's okay, it will dry clear. I can hardly even tell the difference between these two. If you look closely, yes, this one is quite a bit thinner, but the spiral pretty much looks the same shape. Okay, moving on. This worm, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of changing the number of single crochets, I'm going to actually change the stitch. So instead of doing single crochets, I'm going to do double crochets. So I'm going to do 4 double crochets into each chain. Once again, I'm feeling nervous that I'm going to break the pattern, but I mean, we did 9 single crochets into each stitch and that worked. So I expect that the worms are just going to get like a bit wider because the stitches, double crochet stitches, are obviously a bit taller than single crochet. This is going to take quite a while longer than the ones I've been doing. This is looking so cool so far. I'm loving it. This is like the best worm I've ever made. Look how awesome those curls are. They're sitting so perfectly around each other. It's kind of like that green worm, but in 3D. I don't know if the face is going to look too small, because how you do the face is you do the 10 double crochets into the stitch, and we've been doing double crochets this whole time, so it might look a bit out of proportion to the body, but that's alright. I might add a few extra stitches if it looks too small. We'll see how we go. Okay, that doesn't look as unbalanced as I thought, and overall, I love it. It's such a cool shape. I think it's one of my favourite ones I've done. Oh my gosh, look at that. That's such a massive difference between the pink worm. The pink worm has 4 single crochets into each stitch. Yellow worm has 4 double crochets into each stitch, and I made a huge difference. You might be guessing already what the next step is. If this one's single crochet and this one's double crochet, I want to see what triple crochet looks like. This could be the pattern's breaking point. Okay, so I've done my usual thing, 30 stitches, slip stitch in the first stitch, and now we're doing 4 triple crochets into each chain. I'm already feeling like this one's going to take forever to do. I really hope this works. I'm getting nervous. Well, I think it's safe to say it's working. This one's looking pretty similar to the last one, but it's like you took the image and just dragged it on Microsoft Word and kept making it bigger and bigger. This one's head does look slightly too small for its body, but that's okay. That's just the way it was born. It's happy the way it is. Okay, this is so weird. This is so weird because I thought this one on the left was really crazy, but it doesn't even look that crazy compared to the one on the right. Oh my gosh, look how tiny the pink one looks compared to it. So there we have it. Our single crochet, our double crochet, and our triple crochet. So we actually only have one color left. Orange is going to be our final worm, and there's a lot of things I could do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go backwards on what we've been doing. So I'm going to need a smaller stitch than a single crochet, which we're left with the slip stitch. I'm going to do 4 slip stitches into each chain. I'm a little bit worried this might be the breaking point of the pattern because is it going to curl? Are the stitches going to be big enough? It is a little bit tricky. I think it will work. I think this should work. I'm feeling a little bit worried. This is not exactly looking like a worm. It's kind of looking like I'm making a maple leaf or something. I don't know how it's going to turn out. Is this even going to curl at all? Okay. We did it. 10th worm and I finally broke the pattern. It doesn't even look like a worm. It's giving me that like orange seahorse vibes. Does that look like a seahorse? It just does in my mind, okay? Your seahorse, do you see the vibes? Maybe if I twist it around a bit, it'll look a bit more worm-like. It really doesn't want to twist. I guess this one's just a special worm. Okay, it looks kind of worm-like. It looks like a similar shape if you bunch him up, but on his own, he really doesn't want to stay bunched. He wants to be free. But hey, we tried. We got to a place where we broke the pattern. We didn't break the pattern. He's just a special worm. And with that, that is all the worms. All 10 of our worry worms. I think my favorites are this green one and with the way the shape turned out. And also the one with the double crochets. And also this one, but probably just because I like purple. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you again soon. Bye!